JP, can you talk about the kicking battle with Ryan coming out on top and also Keon Coleman as a punt returner? I know we've asked you about it before, but what put him ahead to win that competition?
Yeah, so in terms of the kicking, I thought it was a really good competition. I thought both Ryan and Tyler, they competed well, in terms of how they approach it, but I thought they also competed well together in terms of the support, working together, trying to make each other better. So I thought the competition was good. And, at the end of the day, Ryan was a little bit more consistent in terms of how we evaluated and what we're looking for in the charting and the team reps. And, one thing we do know is that we have a very, very quality guy on the roster with Tyler as well. So, we have better depth. We're better at the kicking spot than we were a year ago, because I think the competition was good for Ryan. It pushed him to a level that he hasn't been at with us so far. And then we also know we have Tyler if we were ever in a situation where we needed his services. In terms of Keon, he was a guy obviously that was unknown to us in terms of the return game until the summer. And he's done a really, really great job. He tracks the ball well. He has that great ability to judge the ball in the air. He's confident, and I think all those things together, along with his explosive playmaking ability, pushed us in that direction that he was the best suited for that punt return position.
Brendan?
And then that kickoff returner, a couple different guys are mentioned. Looks like Trey and Deuce are probably at the top of that, though. I guess what have you seen from them? Because what kind of different skill sets do they bring respectively to that position?
They're obviously a little bit different in terms of running style. Deuce is extremely explosive. He has that ability to stick his foot in the ground and get vertical, and really has an opportunity to make big plays in the return game. Trey returns the ball like a running back would, except for he has elite top end speed. I think they both bring a little bit, different strengths to it. But we've been really pleased with the depth that we have in that spot, and I think that has a chance to be a really explosive unit for us.
Essen?
When it comes down to kickoffs, was that a competition as well, or how do you guys evaluate that in particular? And was that, or like if you win one, or is it two separate competitions?
Two separate evaluations in terms of the kickoffs and field goals. Ryan did a good job for us a year ago on kickoffs, especially as we got into the season. I was pleased with him, and he had a really, really good fall camp. And I think and we kind of, without even discussing the part of Max Schemento when he had his opportunities to do kickoffs last year, was really good. So we have quality depth at the kickoff spot. I know from a rhythm standpoint, it's something that Ryan likes to do, to stay in kind of a game rhythm with his field goals and kickoffs. And he did a great job with it in the fall. So we're going to start that way and see where that takes us.
Ira?
Ryan obviously went through some ups and downs last year, and then went out and brought in another kicker to challenge him. How did he handle all that? And what have you seen from him throughout that whole process?
Ryan really, in my opinion, handled all of it, dating back to a year ago like a pro. He went through his struggles, especially early in the year. It never really affected his approach or his demeanor in terms of how he showed up to work every day. And it was probably best exemplified by the way he kicked in practice. We talked about it at length a year ago, that he was really solid throughout the course of the weeks. I thought, and then he came out of it towards the end of the season. I thought he really started to hit the ball well. And then to bring in the competition, he never missed a beat. I think he knew that was something that potentially would be coming, but he never let it faze him. I think those two have formed kind of a bond and relationship together. As a matter of fact, when I told them kind of where things were going to go this season, they did, they were together when it happened. So, I think that kind of relationship, that kind of camaraderie is good for both of them, but they also push each other to be kind of the best that they could be. And so I think the competition was good for Ryan, and he's continued to show up and do a good job anytime he's been asked to do anything.
Corey?
This is kind of an existential question about that. There aren't many place kickers that have such good competition right behind them going into a season. How do you think Ryan will handle the fact that, you know, if he goes into a little bit of a slump, you guys got a guy that you believe in that might come in and replace him if need be. And do you think it's good for him to have someone like that on the roster?
Well, you know, I think it's good to have someone like that on the roster. I think at every position group, you want that competition, that sense of urgency from each player. You know, but I would go back and say this: I don't think anybody or anything would put more pressure on Ryan than what he already puts on himself. So, you know, he's extremely competitive. He wants to do well. I don't think he's going to be real worried about who's behind him because I think he just wants to be successful just because that's how he's driven and that's how he's built. So having a quality backup is a great thing for the program, but I don't think it's going to affect how he approaches his work day to day, other than knowing that he's being pushed and that's already been something he's been working with through fall camp and spring ball.
Go back to Brendan up front.
You guys already knew what you had with Jared and Patrick Payton going into camp. How did some of the depth pieces or rotational guys kind of present and show out during camp? Do you leave camp with more confidence than you had going into it?
Certainly feel better about where things are at in terms of depth at the defensive end spot coming out of camp. You know, I thought Byron Turner was a big part of that. You know, I thought he really showed significant improvement and consistency as fall camp went along. He flashed and made some big plays in some scrimmage situations, and that's really what we needed to see from him. You know, Gilbert is a guy obviously that was a mid-year transfer who's played a lot of football. You know, he played a lot of football a year to go to a different school, so I had a better feel for what he would look like. But I thought both Gilbert and Byron both made progress through the course of fall camp and put themselves in a position where, you know, we're going to have really quality depth defensive end spot.
Jared?
Special teams. In terms of kick coverage, punt coverage, the other personnel on the field, can you talk about that? Some of the talent that you're able to utilize this year?
Yeah, so in both of our cover units, you know, that's something that we work extremely hard at, you know, just in terms of focus throughout the course of practice, meeting time, and you know, we have some really quality players on both those units. I'll start with the punt unit. You know, I think you know, that core group of guys who are in the protection. Some of those guys have been around for a couple years doing it. Kalen DeLoach, Shaheem Brown, Jaheim Bell is going to be one of those guys. Tatum Bethune. Our ends, you know, Azaria Thomas, Jarian Jones. I mean, guys who have been out there and taken a lot of reps for us at those spots, and take a lot of pride in it. You know, one of the things that the way Coach Norvell has structured this program is, you know, special teams are a point of emphasis in everything we do. So when you are called upon to be on one of those units, and especially if you're a frontline guy, it's something our guys take pride in. So I think we do have a lot of really good frontline players on our punt cover unit, and the same could be said for our kickoff cover. You know, our kickoff cover we talk about as being an identity unit for the program, the mentality and how we cover kicks. And you know, I think our guys have done a pretty good job throughout the course of fall camp. Obviously, we're gonna have a chance to put it on display on Sunday night, but I really like where both cover units are right now.
Go back to Ira.
I don't know if I've ever asked this question before. The special teams coaches, how much do they impact what teams do? And the reason I ask is because LSU has a different special teams coach this year from last year. Do you expect anything different from what they did in terms of their approach?
Well, you know, I mean, I think every program is probably a little bit unique in terms of that. You know, each special teams coordinator is going to have kind of his style and his scheme in terms of what they do, but it's always going to be dictated in terms of what the head coach is comfortable with. You know, some head coaches are really involved in what's going on schematically on special teams, others aren't. You know, so every time we've played Coach Kelly's team, he's had the same special teams coordinator up into this year. So, you know, I have a sense and a feel kind of what we could expect to see, but there's going to be some unknown with that. But like in terms of like our program, like Coach Norvell is very involved in what we do on special teams. So, you know, I would think there would be a lot of consistency in terms of how that would play out. So I think it's unique to each head coach and how much input and how much involvement they have in the special teams units.
Anything else for JP? Got Aslan for the last one.
Kind of a bigger picture question. Coach Fuller shared that, he believes that he and Coach Norvell, this might be one of the better, maybe the best camps they've been around as a team. I know you guys progressed throughout a year, but how much of the team and their performance is, you kind of know in this part of the year, this is the preseason and what you developed, and just how excited are you for what you guys have seen on the field this last 20 practice?
Well, I would echo their sentiments in terms of how good of a camp that I thought it was. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the maturity in which we handle our business. Guys showed up, they showed up to work every day. They played hard throughout, we track everything, right? So just the explosive movements, how hard guys practice, all of that GPS monitoring that we do reflected the fact that guys were working. But it wasn't just what was happening on the field, it was also the way in which they approached the meeting room, the way they handled themselves within the building. There was just a very mature approach to the camp, and I thought the guys handled it really, really well, which gives us a chance to, going into game week, to be in the best position we possibly can be in.
Okay.